Welcome to Remotely Interested, the podcast where we talk remote working, work life in general, and top tips to successfully work from anywhere. Today we'll hear from Konstantin Kolev from Sofia, Bulgaria. At the age of 14, Konstantin founded Avocado Shark, a publishing entity in the game development marketplace. 4 years later, Konstantin has built a remote team of freelancers from different countries around the globe. Avocado Shark has achieved thousands of sales and is already a significant presence in the gaming industry, producing multiplayer assets, ads, 3D modelling and customised products. I was particularly interested to hear how Konstantin, a member of Gen Z, viewed the advantages of remote work versus the benefits of in-person interactions. You may well be surprised by how he answers. Konstantin, welcome to the Remotely Interested podcast.
Hello.
Hi, nice to see you. How are you?
Yes, I'm very good.
Excellent.
Thank you for, inviting me to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for accepting. Thanks so much. I think this is going to be a really interesting and inspiring chat for everybody who's listening. So, no, thank
Yes,
you.
I'll share everything I can and, talk about remote working and how it's influenced my operations and so on.
Fantastic. So, this episode is a bit different to some of my earlier episodes because I have to disclose that Konstantin is a full-time student
Yeah.
who also has a business that he's been running for some time, and it's been remote from the beginning. So yeah, let's begin, Konstantin. How did it all start? What is the business? How does it work? Tell us everything.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, like I've got these A levels, which are part of my Cambridge syllabus, which I am supposed to do in school. But they're a bit boring, right? So I
Oops.
I needed to find something, more interesting. Because I'm an ambitious like person. I enjoy doing something that's outside of the box, let's say.
Yeah.
And roughly 4 years ago, I wanted to become a YouTuber.
Okay. Like many people, like many people.
Yeah. A lot of my friends were the same, but I was like the most motivated. It was during COVID actually, and I was in my bedroom, and I wanted to make a tutorial. I wanted to start a YouTube channel that's about tutorials on how to make games, right?
Okay. Right.
And I recorded this video of how to make a multiplayer game that, in Unity, it's a game engine. People create games with it. It's like PowerPoint, but for games.
Ah, okay. Right. That I can understand.
Yeah.
PowerPoint, but for games. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. And people create games with it. And I showed them, okay, how do they connect two players, two computers to the same game? So, you have a multiplayer game where, people can talk, uh, walk. Yeah. I had done these tutorials one by one. And at the end, by myself, I had created a little game. Through these tutorials, a side effect was me creating a game. So I thought like, okay, the tutorials, they weren't very successful. They didn't really yield a lot of money, right?
Okay.
Uh, so I thought, okay, what if I sell this as a template? Like the game. What if I sell the game as a template? And you know how, let's stick to the PowerPoint. I'll stick to the PowerPoint example.
Thank you.
You know how you have the blank? You can start with a blank slide.
Yeah.
Well, when you buy my game, you start with a template. You already have the PowerPoint presentation. You can modify it and then present it. So basically, I began 4 years ago in 2021 selling this template, which gave developers already a made connection between the two computers, a networking framework. These
Yeah.
are some terminology. Um, and it helped a lot of people. I did not expect anything, but I remember my first sale, $8.99. I was I was euphoric. That was like one of the best moments I had.
I'm
And
not surprised. Yeah. What an achievement. That's great.
yeah. And since then, I've been growing all remotely, hiring freelancers, and it's I call these assets. They are assets, and I publish them on as an assets
Okay.
marketplace. I mean,
Yeah.
and the business has grown from me initially, as I said, like developing the game to me today more managing people who do that. Right. Yeah.
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 So it truly is a business. You are a founder and a director, essentially, of your business.
Yeah, indeed. And it's all I've been doing it all remotely. I've used the Discord and WhatsApp mainly. Those are like my main ways to communicate with the people that, you know, I've got developers who develop the asset. I've got one person who makes the trailers, the thumbnails, the artwork for, to promote it, to sell it, for marketing. I've got also a person. They are all in different countries. The editing guy that makes the marketing stuff, he's from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah. The developers, they're mainly from India and Pakistan. I've got also this person who he analyzes and finds gaps in the market. See, he's actually from France. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I found because my father, he is also a businessman. Um, yeah, he started after the Soviet Union fell because I'm in Bulgaria, right? We were under
Sure.
Soviet control, and he found this gap for consumer electronics from the West and otherwise that weren't imported back then. And he focused on this physical aspect, like he has these physical stores. And comparing my business, which is completely e-commerce, with his, physical business, it's a very different business model. Both are very different, in my opinion. You have my side, where it's like I can talk with and work with people around the globe. So there's talent everywhere. And you have my father, who he prefers physical stores, but yeah, it's interesting.
It is, and it's shown how times have changed, isn't it? Because before remote working was common, you had to, as you say, just count on the talent that were in close proximity, you know.
Yeah,
Now, the way you've started a business, you're able to dip into talent all over the world. And we'll talk a bit more about that later, because that's really interesting that you've got that opportunity to be in connection with people, you know, from all kinds of countries. Just to rewind a bit, because I want to know,
yeah.
but the time between you beginning your YouTube videos and your first sale, how long did it take?
Right. Interesting question. Yeah, I've actually haven't thought of it, but I started developing the game, as as aside to the tutorials. I think a month before the first sale, I'd say. Yeah.
Just a month. Wow, that's a quick turnaround.
No, it was. I was completely surprised. I'd say very lucky because did a template that wasn't popular at the time, which was the multiplayer side, because multiplayer is a difficult concept to get started with, as it requires a lot of coding knowledge and also how cloud services work. And the main issue is how to connect both, the Unity game engine and these cloud services, which, my the service I use is Photon, but yeah, there's no difference, the competitors to them as well. So I'd say this month was mainly me developing the template, and then as I published it on the marketplace, it was a success because it was a gap. And a lot of developers, yes, a lot of developers, they wanted to make multiplayer games given their boost in popularity, especially during the COVID era. And yeah, I feel that was the main reason as to why.
Yeah, so you found a gap in the market. And I presume as well, initially when you developed it, you were looking to use it yourself before you even thought about selling to other people. Is that right?
Yeah, it was mainly during the tutorials. I never. It's actually interesting. All of this was not at all my initial idea. My initial idea was for me to make a popular game which would go viral and get a lot of sales. And looking at that, and which is a B2C model, and me right now with the B2B business,
Yeah,
completely separate paths, which I decided to take. Yeah,
completely different. Yeah, so you've gone from wanting to produce a game that everybody could play to actually assisting companies creating their own games. And I guess
exactly.
that's limitless.
I just find that the App Store, not only the App Store, the game market, the final published game market, it's so crowded. It's extremely competitive. You need to really have some genius competitive advantage in order to beat that.
Sure.
Whereas with assets, I feel like I've kind of made a name for my company as I've continued to produce, not only multiplayer assets. I've got some projects which I've published, which are for ads. I've decided recently to pursue 3D modeling. I have an artist to do that. I didn't mention him.
Mhm.
Who models. Yeah, we've decided to try that as well. And yeah, it's a very different path to my initial idea, but you know, working remotely is very flexible, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, and it's enabling you to diversify and be creative in all kinds of different ways, which is, yeah, that must be really great. Are you still working on a game idea or have you put that to one side for now?
Well, having these A levels, they are such a pain. It's- I can't wait. I've got 3 months till the end.
Yeah.
And like everyone in my school, like teachers wise, pressuring me into studying them. It's really difficult, but 3 months, which is people say it's a small time. It's no, it's a very long time.
Depends what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
financial quarter in my life, but yeah.
exactly. Yes, I like that reference. Yeah. Um, but yeah, uh, you know, having these A levels, it's not allowing me to fully pursue all of my objectives and ideas. But I'm trying my best, so I haven't really been able to work on my games, on my game idea. But I'm definitely in development of new assets,
Yeah.
the developers. Also, we've decided to open a new like service that Avocado Shark provides. It is about requesting a custom build of any template. So it's yeah, a person can email us and say, okay, I want it customized in this way. We provide an offer, and if he agrees, so that's another source of finance which
Yeah.
I've decided to pursue as well. So yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Super creative, diversification, and okay, the A levels are getting in the way for you developing your own game for now.
3 months, three
Three
months.
months, that's all. But
That's
it must
all.
be really inspiring, though, to see how you've contributed to the building of other people's games. You know, that you,
Oh yes, yes. I've built a community on Discord. I'll
right.
never forget the first person who joined. He wanted support for the asset, but it was because the server, usually there are a lot of people in it, but there was just me and him. I won't forget that. That was 3 years ago.
Right at the beginning, okay.
Right at the beginning, yes, that was the beginning of this community. And it was funny because we talked and it was obviously funny that it was just the two of us in a server. But yeah, since then, we've grown. We're now at around 500 people in the server.
Ah, amazing. It's good.
Yes. And it's that's like the community where, people share their ideas with the concepts they've done, saying, okay, look at the game I did, which is, very inspiring because I see something I did 4 years ago still in action in some games, which is just crazy for me.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
yeah, it's just you feel like you feel like you've made the foundation for these people, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's a really nice feeling when you see them. Of course, there's also the other side where a lot of people want support, so you need to support them. There's this guy. I'm very happy that we found each other because he's able to articulate and all of the concepts of the template and support everybody in the server who needs, help. So yeah.
fantastic. So that's also part of the product then. You're selling the product and then an after support as well to assist with usage.
Yeah, because when it comes down to game development, a lot of things can go wrong. Nobody can guarantee that there won't be errors in the code, there
Sure.
won't be issues in the build, and it's people do need support. They pay the price for the asset. If it doesn't work outside of the box, that's on us. That's our bad. So we fix it for them. But if it all goes well, they can always request additional features, as I said, and yeah, it's also been a source of income as a side to the main sales.
Ah, so you have an additional charge for support.
Well, not for support, for developing new features, I'd say.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
and
great.
modifications.
So at this point, do you know, I don't know if it's possible to know how many games your asset has been used with, or is that not possible to know?
Well, it's a very difficult question that there have been thousands of sales, but does that mean that thousands of games have been made through it?
Right.
I There's honestly no way because some people join the server, some people they don't need support, they don't join, they don't want to become part of the community, which is completely fine, and they just buy it and use it. But you know, Unity Unity isn't only about making games. It's also you can make because I've had people, in fact, it's been very interesting for me that there are developers because through the past 4 years, I've talked with so many people in the game industry, given that they come for help mainly, and there are some people who, for example, there was this person who wanted to use the template to make NFT art showcases.
Ah, okay, interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I also like he wanted to have people join the game and explore the world he created where there are NFTs and people can buy the NFTs. So yeah, it's not only about having games, it's about anything. The assets I create, I try to make them as standardized and universal as possible. Yeah.
Mm,
So
amazing.
yeah, I don't really know if I can never get an estimate of how many games have been created with it. Although that would be very interesting, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what you're doing, is that you're sharing, I think it would be referred to as a back end asset. Is
Backend,
that right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, backend.
And so people are taking it, rolling with it, creating with it. And yeah, they're not necessarily going to come back to you and say at a later date what they've done with it, but it's out there.
Yeah.
And presumably, like you say, you are aware of some games that you know definitely that you've been involved in, and others, yeah, I mean the possibilities are endless, like you say, the way people want to use it. So
Uh,
excellent, really inspiring, and yeah, really great achievement.
Thank you.
So you, as you mentioned, though, you are a student, you are a serious student. And so the fact that you can do this remotely must be absolutely essential. Because I want you to imagine now, just so that we can talk about the benefits of remote working. If you had to do everything that you do in an office, even if it was in Sofia, which is where you are, is that right? Sofia in
Yeah,
Bulgaria?
exactly.
Yeah. But if every time you wanted to work on Avocado Shark, you
Mm,
had to go into the office and all of your developers also had to be in the office,
mhm, mhm.
how do you think that would have changed the model of your business?
Right, right. Okay. Um, the thing is, I would say it would definitely improve productivity in certain forms, having an office, because I've thought about it a lot actually, as an idea for, as a long-term growth idea.
Yeah.
And when people are have to come into offices, it definitely upgrades the productivity, given that people work together, they are face to face, they meet each other. We can sit down in a meeting. I really want to do that. That's one of my dreams.
That's a
Sit
dream.
down- Yeah, sit down in a meeting with all of my people that we work together
Mm,
and just discuss the strategy and how to overcome challenges. That would be incredible. But again, it's I cannot do that because they're all around the world. So you know, given that this is an unrealistic goal, we can look at the remote side of it, where I can have a Zoom meeting with all of them, which is, of course, a great alternative because I still get to meet them, I still get to talk to them. Of course, we cannot, all day be sitting at one place, which in an ideal world would be most productive. But I feel like remotely working is a much more efficient and balanced approach, which provides the most flexibility and the littlest cost to use, which is mainly the reason why Avocado Shark at all has been able to found itself,
yeah.
given my non-existent capital at the beginning. I started from nothing, and I've been able to grow thanks to freelancers which I started by finding in Fiverr. That's a website for freelancers.
Yeah.
Um, and all of these networking sites, these places, these platforms which have been created to aid, startups, I feel they are the future as they've proven themselves to be. We are right now in this internet future. If I look back 10 years ago when remote working was, well, not, let's say 20 years ago. That's a more realistic time frame. I'd say, this business, it wouldn't have existed because first of all, game developing was little to none and only done by well, it wasn't little to none, but only done by big corporations who had a lot of resources, like Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft. But now that platforms like the Unity game engine have been released, you have hobbyists, solo developers who have also been given this opportunity. In fact, because as I am a publisher in this marketplace of Unity, it's called the Unity Asset Store. They provide analytics on to uh, it's a very nerdy PDF that they send they send out every year. Yeah, it's a lot of numbers, but when we look at it, there's a lot of data about who buys assets, for what they buy assets, and you can see that there are a lot of hobbyists who do this for fun,
Mm.
solo developers who do this for trying to make it their full-time job or just side revenue, a side income. And looking back 20 years, that just wouldn't have existed. And it exists now thanks to the growth in the popularity of the internet, the improvement in computers, and it's just a testimony as to the success of remote working, I'd say.
Absolutely. The opportunity is there now, and it just simply wasn't before. Yeah. So
Right.
again, that freedom to create and to, yeah, as you say, try things out, even simply as a hobby,
Hmm.
because it doesn't have to cost that much just to give things a try from home.
That's the main thing. The cost is really low as compared to office spaces, which, electricity, water, all of the rent, or if you buy it, that's expensive.
Yes.
And I mean, if you're a big corporation, of course you need that. You need that for your image, for your brand image. You need that for easier hiring of employees and mainly the brand identity. But for a startup or a company which wants a lot of flexibility, a lot of efficiency, remote working is probably the best option.
Yeah. And a lot of companies have realized this post-COVID as well, that so many of their colleagues managed to work effectively from home. So post-COVID, looking at cutting costs, many companies have got rid of their offices altogether. But it's interesting what you say about image, though. And image
Yeah.
is important. It's not to be overlooked. So yeah, to have an office space in a prime area obviously can assist the image of a company. So
Yeah, because you look at of course, um, not every company is like that. But you look at Google, you look at Apple.
yeah.
What do you tell yourself? You tell yourself Silicon Valley. You tell yourself the big Google office space, or the Ring, Apple's is Ring, and the employees, they want to work there. They
Yeah.
want to work there, and that's of course the elite. The elite. People don't need to reach the elite. That's some unrealistic objective. Whereas, a more balanced approach, as you said, people can work from home. You have smaller companies which they don't need such big, expensive buildings. And again, even if they have the space, they don't need all of the employees in there. They can just use it for meetings, as I said, hiring people and promoting their brand image. Not everybody has to be there.
No, no, exactly. It's that balanced approach.
In fact, I I have a friend who is my father's friend, and he is the general manager of PaySafe in in the eastern part in Bulgaria, and you know you can see how this multinational company has its headquarters in USA.
Right.
However, it has a lot of offices around the world, including Bulgaria, which, USA, Bulgaria, very distant. And how do they connect? Remotely, you know. And I'm sure that a lot of employees, they work from different countries in different areas because PaySafe, it's like PayPal, for example, Stripe, if you know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And they provide payment services. And having such a company, it requires being in a lot of countries, supporting a lot of different payment systems. So yeah.
Really interesting. I have a question. How many contractors are you working with at the moment?
Right. Well, it's hard for me to to say an exact number, given that Avocado Shark, it's not a private limited company or a public one. It's a publishing entity in the marketplace space of Unity mainly. Although I have started to pursue another path, which I can talk about later. But currently, it's a publishing entity there. As I said in the beginning, a lot of freelancers make it work. So I have several people who develop, analyze, edit, and setting a number. It should be, I would say, in total, currently, people working on the assets and together with me to support the business, although not on a part-time or full-time contract, I'd say roughly around 9, I'd say.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes.
And how many of them are in Bulgaria?
None actually. None.
Okay.
No, this business I completely started from scratch. I did not at all get help from or talk with anyone around my circle. So it was all, solo, let's say. And an effect of that has been this globalization effect where I am working with only people from foreign countries.
From abroad, yeah. So you mentioned Ukraine, Pakistan, India, France.
Exactly. Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. So if your company had begun with the dream idea of the office, that would have been difficult to work with these particular individuals then because they're simply not near enough to have been able to attend the office.
Absolutely. And a key differentiator between hiring only from Bulgaria and only from the eastern side of Europe,
Mhm.
as a side to all having this limitless possibility of hiring anybody from anywhere from the world, is of course, first of all, the creative side, because sticking to Bulgaria, that's Avocado Shark is not about selling to Bulgaria, it's about selling worldwide. So having people around the world, that's helped with having an international perspective, seeing how different game development is, in USA, in France, in Ukraine, given the different wants in the game market, and mainly also the cost, because having freelancers from India where wage expectations are less than, for example, USA or UK or even Bulgaria, has
Sure.
definitely aided uh, the uh, the profits of Avocado Shark, because I've been able to reduce the costs in such a way that I'm able to sustain the operations. Because if I would have been using developers working with people in USA and UK, for example, where wages are really high, then I don't think I would have been able to grow as fast as I've been able to.
Absolutely. It's a natural consideration that has to be made, particularly when you're starting something from scratch, isn't it? And
Yeah.
so that remote opportunity to find talent in all corners of the globe is a major opportunity, major advantage. Konstantin, earlier you talked about productivity and how you thought that could potentially be improved if everybody was working in the same space.
Yeah.
So, what are the challenges then that you've found in terms of productivity from the fact that you're all based in different countries and working remotely?
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Uh, Interesting question. The main thing has been, in terms of productivity, for me, balancing between A levels and the business. I don't get to spend all day on it. I get to spend my free time after I finished all the lessons, all the studying. So this leaves me with this issue, you know.
Yeah,
If we're in an office, I need this set time frame between when everybody's productive, everybody's working. Whereas I don't have that. I work on it whenever I'm free and whenever I feel I have energy.
yeah,
Um, and so working remotely, one of the positives is I can message anybody at any time. And that's not an issue because, it's not like a corporate entity where um, you're working during the day and then you just not working, you're in a break. Here it's just flexible, and that's something I really appreciate, the flexibility.
yeah,
We can discuss something at I've had times when, of course the time zones are very different, but with one of the Indian developers, I had times where it's literally at night. It's like 1 a.m. and we're just discussing the asset. We're just and that's something you just cannot do, because I have found time then. He has somehow energy to do it because India is 3.5 hours uh, after Bulgaria.
right, yeah,
Somehow it's 4:30 a.m. there. He has found energy to do it.
yeah,
I'm not judging. And we are able to communicate. Just that's something you cannot do. And of course, it's not as sustainable as having an office space. That's I feel like that's the ultimate goal for me.
Mm.
But currently, with my given situation, remote working is the way.
So if you had an office space,
Mhm.
you would, however, definitely be working more fixed hours, I imagine, because there's only so many hours that your staff could attend the office.
Absolutely.
But you think that would give perhaps the work more structure?
Definitely, yes. Definitely, structure is a big part of it. I feel like setting a routine would so much improve the operations, because of course, I said this example of doing it at night when everybody's like free, but that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen always. The like sometimes you just don't. They disappear because the internet has been gone, or there's an issue with their computer, or they are just sick. And of course, that's an issue in the office as well. But it's not as productive as having a routine
Yeah.
that you can follow every day, and we sit down and we work on the assets, we work on the company. That's just something you cannot do with such a flexible schedule.
Right, understood. So remote working by definition is flexible.
Yes.
You're having to be flexible because of the time difference that's arising from the fact that people are all over the world. So you're making the best of it, and you certainly have achieved a lot with it. But what you're saying is ideally you would like a kind of a set work structure, set hours, everybody's working at the same time, everybody's productive at the same time. And then potentially, because obviously people still go home, but you might still have a
Yeah.
few things that you want to work with, using maybe the flexibility of being able to deal with things from home, but outside of working hours? Or would you want everything to be done within a particular time frame? Is that your ideal?
No, yeah, no, no. It's more like some people. I am also this way. And during the evening, I work much better. I just yeah, I just find it much nicer. My brain just starts being more creative during the evening. Maybe because it's my free time and I think this way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I this set schedule between the day, I think it would help with overcoming challenges, as I had said, because when we sit and everyone knows, okay, you need to be here at this time. Let's say at 12 a.m. we sit down and we just discuss an issue that has been pursuing. Of course, my father, that he's inspired me about this because that's the way he does his things, and I just feel that you cannot do it this way where when everyone is so distant from each other, and you don't have this opportunity because of the time zones to always have meetings
Yeah.
and be able to really sit down together and focus on that. It's
Yeah.
just a different atmosphere which helps with it's just for a different purpose, I feel. Having remote working, that's nice for flexibility and really being able to find your comfortable space and work as you wish. But then having this face-to-face side to it, where you just the atmosphere is more productive, I'd say, more
Yeah.
motivating.
Excellent. It's really interesting, balanced perspective on things. So, Konstantin, imagine, and it's probably not too far in the future, that you are employing your first employee. Okay, so no more contractors. This is an
Mhm.
employee.
Right.
What kind of contract do you think you'd be offering? Would it be full time in the office or hybrid, or how do you expect your future employees to work? I'm sure people won't hold you to it, but yeah.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on it at this moment in time?
Very interesting, very interesting. Yes, it's actually a dream of mine to have a full-time employee. That's just because, it's all nice to have people who work as you request, and you pay them for this amount of work. But really having someone who is fully invested full time into the company, that's something I haven't yet been able to feel, but I believe it gives so much opportunity. If employees are full time within a workspace, I believe they would build much stronger connections and work much better together. Whereas if they are part time, or on a 0 hour contract, I feel like the freelancers I have, of course, their work is so distorted. They are so split among all of their uh, you know uh,
Different clients and
clients. Exactly, that's the word I was thinking of. Yeah, and being so split, it has its difficulties because they cannot devote all of their attention towards the final product that we're trying to create. And I feel full-time employees, that is, if of course it depends on the financing of the revenue and the current costs, but you know, having full-time employees for me would be astronomically better than having just 0 hour contracts.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Would they be 100% in the office?
Well, I honestly, my leadership style, I feel like is more laissez-faire, because I trust people, and if they don't work well enough, of course I'll pressure them into it. But if they are fine on their own, they find the discipline, they understand how to tackle the challenges without being micromanaged. I hate micromanaging. It's just an inefficient way of doing anything. Um, so given my mindset on management, of course, if someone feels more comfortable, is more productive at home, finds it um, as a much nicer atmosphere. Of course, they would be allowed to. Honestly, I won't have an issue with it. But if we're having, a meeting, um, or I view a decline in the output, I would, take measures
Yeah.
yeah, to fix it.
But yeah, which makes sense, which makes sense. And a lot of companies have policies like this now where certain days of the week can be from home, certain have to be in the office for those key meetings, those opportunities to collaborate and really, develop things.
Absolutely.
So yeah, policies can be in place, but also, yeah, a good manager is aware of what their employees are doing. Are they disciplined in the office or not? Are they disciplined at home or not? And yeah, like you say, taking measures just to make sure that productivity is at its best.
Yeah. And of course, something which I've thought about is the difference between, because I'm looking at a more coding industry,
Hmm.
a game developing industry. So yeah, there is this difference between the coding sector and, for example, a hospital office where everyone needs to be much more focused, and the work is completely separate from making games, being creative, um, finding gaps in the development industry, game development industry. Just these very two different office spaces. They of course have their positives and negatives. When you look at, for example, a coding space, you would more like think of, oh, there's an eight pool table in the middle of the office and beanbag chairs everywhere, because that's just how these companies operate, given the atmosphere they want to create, and the work yield they expect from their employees. So just very different office spaces, which of course they contribute to the acceptance of remote working and during them.
Sure. So interesting times as things change, and also it's industry dependent as well. You've got to consider what works for each industry, yeah, and each space.
Mhm.
Great, thanks, Konstantin. Yeah, I think our listeners as well can really be appreciative of your tips, of your experience, and think about, like you say, maybe turning a hobby into a
Hmm.
business. So really
That's the idea. That's the ultimate idea. Yeah.
okay. Okay, so I learned something. Scheduling just an hour for recording the podcast is sometimes not quite enough, especially when talking to someone like Konstantin, who has such an interesting perspective and experience of remote working and team building. So, my fault, we ran out of time as Konstantin had to go to school to study for those boring, his words, A-levels he mentioned earlier. So we discussed the remaining 2 questions via WhatsApp later on. To the question, what are 3 qualities you look for when hiring contractors? Konstantin answered the following.
I'd look for proactive communication, attention to detail, and solid problem-solving capabilities.
I then, as usual, picked at random a Mosaic Gold plate surprise question. And this is what we got.
If you could choose any person, living or dead, to be your mentor for a year, who would it be and why?
Hi, Mary. So, about the question, who will I want to be a mentor of mine for a year? I'd say Elon Musk. Not because I agree in any way with his political stance or anything. I honestly disagree with him, but I just really want to understand, how does this man think, and why is he allowing himself to risk this much of his life and devote it to his companies, given, for example, how Tesla was about to go bankrupt, but he invested his own money, his last millions, let's say, into it, and he was ready to go down with it. So I'm just really interested to hear stories like that from him. And also, how is it to be the president's best friend? That's also really an interesting concept to me. So yeah, I think he'll be an extremely interesting person to be a mentor. Yeah, I'd say that's who I would really find amazing to be mine.
So here's the rest of the episode with Konstantin's closing words and information on how you can contact him. So to close off, what would you advise for anybody that wants to get in touch with you or perhaps work with some of the assets that you've produced? Where can they find you?
Okay, yeah. The main website, it's avocadoshark.com, spelled as it is. My email is there, and people can check out all of the assets which we make, and get in touch with us, which I would be very happy with, to get in contact with anybody who is interested in developing their game and is in need of help to do it.
Amazing. Yeah, because as you've explained, the assets are there, but there's also the support as well that so many people need to be able to create what they want to create. So all in all, you're really offering an important service for a lot of creators and gamers out there. So fantastic.
Very sure. Yeah.
Okay, Konstantin, this has been a great chat.
That's the first interview I've ever done about the company.
It will not be the last, that is for sure. And I am just so thrilled to have got the scoop. That's amazing, Konstantin, really. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. No, thank you.
All right.
Okay, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
So we saw how remote work makes a side project possible when working or even studying full time, giving everybody the chance to potentially turn a hobby into a career. Building a remote international team not only keeps costs down, but it also gives the business owner a valuable insight into how the market works in each colleague's respective country in order to effectively target global markets and make sales around the world. Managing a team remotely is great for flexibility, but meeting regularly in person can assist with structured working, productivity, and building a memorable and well-respected brand. Perhaps hybrid working is the future. So, if you're even remotely interested in remote working, I'll see you next time.